Resume recording. Okay. All right, great. I'm going to press play, and if you have any questions, type them into the chat box or unmute yourself and interrupt me. Either way, it's good because our group is smaller than what we had started with, but that's okay. All right, today, everybody, Power of Patience. I'm really excited to have Taylor here with us. Taylor, give a little wave. Taylor is the author of the most recent blog that we did, or she did, and it's the Post Concussion, the PCS blog. And so what we want to do is to relate that blog and into the dashboard and shake it up a little bit. I want to do one poll and test our polling capabilities with this, but I also want to relate this to the dashboard and how we can show you how these triggers and symptoms are all on the dashboard to help manage your care. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So there is one thing. So again, if you did not get a chance to look at Taylor's blog, I really would like to encourage you to go there and read it. powerpatience.com/blog. It's the first one. And in Taylor's article, she actually said something that was really, it rang true to me. A PCS, post-concussive syndrome, occurs because your brain cells are deprived of oxygen. And the deprivation comes from the insult to your brain. And so the insult could be from the TBI, the concussion, it could be from a stroke. It's however it actually was insulted or injured, but the cells, the brain cells actually are not getting oxygen. And there's a couple of ways that your brain cells don't get oxygen. It's either an all or some, not all or none. So either some of your brain is getting oxygen or your brain is getting no oxygen, right? So you have to make sure that you know if you have any blood flow to a certain area. And this is important because it also will help with the recovery. So with going down this path about what does oxygen mean to the brain, I don't know if you know this, but your brain uses 18% of our entire body's oxygen demand, which is huge. And as I was preparing this, I thought, I don't know if that's the #1 organ demand. And when I went to the literature to pull, the brain is #2, which is really interesting. The #1 organ that uses more oxygen is the liver. And that uses 20% of our total consumption for our body. This is really important, and let me explain why. Your liver and your brain use collectively about 40% of your entire body's oxygen demand. And if you're not getting enough oxygen, blood-rich oxygen, then you are going to continually have your PCS symptoms of foggy brain, trying to find the right words, the memory loss, things like that. But there's others too that I want to show you the relationship as well. So this is important. Your liver's job is to clean oxygen. So think of trash day. The garbage trucks go along, they get our trash, it hits the liver. The liver is our filtration system, cleans out the blood, and it puts oxygen-rich blood back into our system, also with the spleen, but mostly the liver, puts it back into the system, and then it goes all throughout the body, and the majority going to the brain after it finishes with the liver. So if you're not getting, and this is important, the liver, because if there's something wrong with your liver, and your liver is not filtering the blood correctly, you're going to get dirty blood. And that's important. So you want to make sure, and how you determine this is through a blood test, right? It's very simple to do to make sure that your liver is working at its capacity. So assuming the liver is fine, then we know that the problem is that the brain area is not getting enough oxygen. And how does it get oxygen? Here's how it gets it. Here's a very high level view of all the arteries and vessels that go throughout your whole brain. So if you have a big vessel, like one of your carotid arteries, right? And this is from the top looking down. If you have a big vessel that is going to be disrupted or broken, you're going to have this brain bleed that is very obvious. But the problem becomes with PCS going backwards, TBI going backwards, concussions, they have microscopic breaks and the machines don't pick them up. And this is part of the problem. So you're having mini brain bleeds. So that goes back to the concept of the all or some. All is usually when they're able to see this on an MRI. That's because one of these big arteries broke and the cells in the area actually died. But if it's a sum, then the area around that region, perhaps around over here, is where you're going to have some blood, but not enough. So making sure that you have the best oxygen-rich blood is very important, and glucose. I don't know if you know this. This was not part of the blog, and the glucose piece is the fuel for our body and our brain. That'll be on another webinar, but oxygen and glucose is what's carried through the blood and makes its way. Okay, why is this also important? Let me give you one more view. On the left-hand side, do you see this nice big yellow? This is normal, normoxia, right? Normal blood flow going into the brain. It should be nice and clear like this. And this is showing a 21% oxygen uptake. That's awesome. On the right, hypoxia. However it got there, for our purposes, it doesn't matter. It's an injured brain. However it got there, we're talking 9%, half of what this one is. And if you look at this red line, this is showing you how little the brain is getting. So how do we improve this? How do we make sure that we actually have not skipped this part, this knowledge about oxygen coming into the brain? All right. How do you test for hypoxia? Tons. Like, look at all these tests. Hello? Hello? I don't know who that is. Okay, so how do you test for hypoxia? I think I'm getting feedback from somebody, I'm not quite sure who, but let's go on. You can do angiograms, you can do blood tests, CAT scans, chest x-rays, echocardiograms, electrocardiograms, and electroencephalogram, and you can get MRIs. You guys, I unmute. Okay, so here we are. Am I back? Thumbs up? Okay. All right, so here's all the tests that you have. So these are not unusual tests. And I'm going to now take that little journey with my daughter, okay? My daughter had every one of these tests done except the angiogram. And every single one of my daughter's tests came back negative, meaning she was fine. There wasn't anything wrong, except the third time we were at the ER because my daughter was having these heart attacks, which is what I thought they were, grabbing her chest. She couldn't breathe. Her eyes were rolling in her head. Sweat is like pouring off of her head. And I'm freaking out thinking, oh my God, it's a heart attack. And we would have CAT scans, echograms, MRIs, you name it. We had all of these tests except an angiogram. And the third time, and I guess it's the third time is the charm, the third time that we did this, the nurse pulls me aside and says, for whatever it's worth, your daughter's oxygen is very, very low. And I looked at her and I said, what does this mean? And she goes, I don't know, but you really have to have it checked out. So the nurse tells me, not the doctor. I had noticed and I had told the doctors how much she sleeps. Now we're talking, this is 2 years post her initial injury. And this is still going on. And I kept bringing this up to the doctors, and all I kept getting was, she just needs a rest. She just needs a rest. And I would think, how much rest does somebody really need? This makes no sense to me. So I then took another step back. I took what the nurse said to me, and then I went back to PubMed and I started cross-checking all of the symptoms that I was witnessing of my daughter. It was the excessive sleeping. My daughter would yawn like you would think it was like a cartoon. We're talking 30, 40, 50 seconds. I can't even do it. Like I would be flabbergasted, like what is happening to her? So remember, her case was extreme, but it was beyond extreme. I knew what she was. I knew what I was seeing, and nobody was listening. And this is the problem. So I went back to PubMed, cross-checked. I threw everything back into their algorithms, and this time I added low oxygen, and bam, the research test came up of the correlation of a traumatic brain injury and hypoxia and the elevated risk for stroke. Well, my daughter had a stroke, and I'm thinking, okay, this explains it. Okay, now I know. So now what do I do? Now how do I fix it? So I take this back to the doctor, the research paper, with video recordings of her yawning, with how much she was sleeping, with the nurse's comment in the labs. And do you know what he said? She just needs rest. How in God's name I would contain myself, I don't know, because I would probably jump on the table and scream at this point. But I was a good little soldier and I would listen, but I knew this wasn't right. So my point here, there's all these tests, but you have to explore and look at everything and question them. Do not take what they're saying as face value, because the knowledge gap is huge. Okay, so let's go back to what PCS is. I challenged Taylor when she wrote this blog. Is it a syndrome? Is it a symptom? What is it? So I'd like to get people's feedback. This is our little interactive part. The definition for a symptom is a physical or mental fatigue, and it's a condition, and it's a feature that's apparent to a patient. Well, I particularly do not think that this is the correct definition, because I don't necessarily agree that all of these symptoms are so apparent to everybody. And I also don't agree that they are going to be consistent or the same ones across the injuries. So let's go to syndrome. A syndrome is a group of symptoms which consistently occur together, and then they're going to be characterized by associated symptoms. Okay, that makes sense, but the problem I have with this definition is the word consistently. If I look at this consistently, I can assure you there was nothing consistent about either of my daughter's conditions or triggers or symptoms. And I would challenge anybody to say that every time I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I have a migraine and my migraine goes away in 20 minutes. That doesn't happen with PCS or TBIs. So then I came up with another one, condition. And these are the circumstances that affect the way that you live or you work, that is regarded to your personal safety or your well-being. Now, this is my challenge. I have to say, hands down, these conditions that people with TBI or head injuries have their safety and have their well-being affected. And there is no pattern. It's a chaos systematic behavior. It's not something that we can predict. And that's, again, why it's so important to have the triggers tracked with the symptoms on the dashboard. So if I can get a hand raise, not painful, we'll do a hand raise. Who thinks it's a symptom? Raise your hand. It's only 6 of us today. All right, who thinks it's a syndrome? Raise your hand. Easy, easy peasy. Now, Alyssa and Chelsea, you gotta come on. Who thinks it's a condition? Raise your hands. I'm raising my hand. Oh, thank you, Diane. All right. Thank you, Alyssa. Taylor, vote. Thumbs down, thumbs up. All right, so either way, the point is, I want to make you guys think about hypoxia, which Taylor raised in the blog, and look at how it really affects your brain and what is the position that you can put your body in the best way to understand the condition. I don't think labels belong to anybody, but I think if we're going to have a label, have the right one. Next thing you know, they were telling me my daughter has dysautonomia. I would sit there and I'd say, oh my God, what does that mean now? Well, dysautonomia means that she has a genetic disorder. And I think to myself, is it because you need a label or you need an ICD code for billing? Because she doesn't have a genetic disorder, she has a brain injury. We have to make sure we're heard about the symptoms and triggers. So, all right, here was our vote. We already did that. So, oops, I drew on this, sorry. These are the risk factors that Taylor had brought up before in the article, and they're good. but they're not complete, and let me tell you why. So multiple head traumas, early headaches, mental changes, female and older. Well, okay, if those are the only risk factors that articles are saying relates and correlates to PCS, then what about all of the boy football players that have PCS? You know, what about them? I mean, this doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem complete. Now take back what I taught you about the astronauts and the soldiers, right? How do you, I have to move this over so I can see it, how you were injured. Don't you think that that potentially has to be a risk factor? If I explain to you an astronaut who is coming back into the Earth's atmosphere and they're physically being shaken like a baby, like shaken baby syndrome, to the nth degree, don't you think that matters about how much of their brain was rattled inside their skull? Another research paper shows that if you have pre-injury, any asthma or are anemic, which both influence your breathing capacity, which increases oxygen, or anemia means iron poor, you don't have enough oxygen in your blood. Both of these are triggers for hypoxia, for mental fatigue, for lack of oxygen to your brain. A couple more that I have to point out to you. Deep water diving, which relates to scuba divers. If you go down, and I don't know if anybody goes scuba diving, but once you're released, we start to do what we think we can do, which is normal, which might mean mountain climbing, which is high altitudes, or hiking, or it could mean get in a plane, or it could mean go up in a high-speed elevator to 70 floors. If you do any of these things, and I am speaking from experience and witnessing it firsthand, not just with my daughters, all of a sudden, the pressure that is going on in their skull, the intracranial pressure, and there is research on this also, it is beyond what you can tolerate when you already have an injury. So if you know you're going to have to go into a high altitude or a plane, or you're predisposed to some of these things, one of the things that I discovered was pH, high pH water was the solution for my daughters. It was something that mitigated, it minimized the amount of head pain that they were in and the number of days they had to stay in bed. So we'll go back to that topic on another webinar, but that's why I don't think our current research work is efficient. It's not complete. If we already know that this is in research and literature, why aren't they drawing the conclusion? And again, this is where we're tracking this on the dashboard for you guys. So in a recap, this is all of the stuff that Taylor had found and posted. It was a great list. And I assure you, they're all on our dashboard. And if you're able to identify the symptom you're experiencing and you know from the triggers that we suggest or you add in, you're going to be able to manage these symptoms and prepare your body for them so that you have less reaction. So you become proactive as opposed to reactive or in bed and in pain. All right, so with that being said, because I know we're all supposed to be on time, this is Sally. So I would like everybody, if you're able to, right? And if you're not, I understand, because I can also, we can talk about this or we can go online. The dashboard is live. And so Sally is it's actually my daughter's therapy dog. And she is now memorialized on the website. She recently died, just natural causes, but everybody loves Sally, and she comes and gets you to make sure that you track, and we're animating her so she actually talks to you. We have discovered that people like talking to Sally, like who doesn't like a dog, right? So you can register for the dashboard, and if you'd like, we can certainly walk you through it right now. If you go to the home page on our website, and you click on this button, register, and you would click on I'm a new user, and I'm going to flip my screen so you can see where it takes you to. This is the dashboard, so hold on one second. I want to do a switch on my screens. Do you guys still see the screen? I need can I get a thumbs up? Do you still see the screen? Okay, awesome. And you can unmute, why don't, let's see, everybody unmute yourself. You do have that capability, and please talk and ask me questions. And it's super easy. So when you go in to register as a new user, the website is going to pop up. We call this the dashboard. And here's what you just saw. Sally gives you the introduction. It is a really fast setup. We are already adding information that we're collecting from people. You go in and you choose what kind of person are you. So for example, you're a current TBI patient, or you're a caregiver, or you had TBIs and you're experiencing symptoms, but you're not an active patient, let's say. And we have gender. And listen, we have a help ticket. So anything you want to add or change or suggest, I want you to send it to me. So I'm just going to put in myself, which was pre-filled, but I cannot use the same email over and over. It will kick me out. So I'm going to make up a new one, Sally 3, and bring her in. Make sure you put your birthday in with the spaces, because if you do not, we will not let you log in. We have to make sure you are not under 13 for child protection laws. And put in your password. The agree to the terms is that we protect your privacy, you get all rights, we are EU compliant, we are California privacy compliant, we are HIPAA compliant, you name it, we are compliant. And I am very, very anal about making sure if you say I want out, you're out. There's no questions asked, but this is all to help you, and you are in control of your data. Oops, my passwords don't match, sorry. See, that's good. I think I just mistyped it again. All right, let's see if I got it this time. Woohoo, I got it, you guys. And you can save it, which I highly suggest to do, right? Sally, so there's a little progress bar. There's literally 6 steps and you're done. Sally is gonna ask you for your most recent TBI, so you can use the calendar picker or you can type the date in. It's whatever you want. Now this is the really, really interesting. The more you tell us about what happened with your TBI, the more Sally is going to fill in your information. So in this case, I was hit on the left temple. I lost consciousness. If I misspell, we'll just deal with it later. We also are developing this so you can actually talk into these as well, so you don't have to type. And let's see, I vomited, I couldn't see, and no
Lynn, are
memory.
we supposed to be seeing you typing? Because I only see the PowerPoint stuck on one page.
Oh, thank you, Taylor. It should be, oh, okay. So I should be here. Thank you. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Come on, guys, you gotta holler. You gotta holler.
All right, sitting here listening, being like,
no. You can. I mean, you can do this right now while we're walking through it if you want to do it at the same time. So, but so the more you give us here, the more we can start training the computer to find correlations for you. And this is what I do. This is my gig. So then we want to know, how many TBIs have you had? Because as I just explained to you, which Taylor pointed out, there are correlations, right, to PCS and the more TBIs. And we know that once you have one TBI, you're at a greater risk of developing another one, as well as Alzheimer's and dementia. And these are very, very important things that we need to address.
I had my second one 2 years ago in October, and I told the doctor in the ER that I'm 6 times more likely to have my second one, because the first time I was in a coma for a month. And anyway, so he's like, "No, you're not." I was like,
"Yes,
oh
you are."
Yeah. Like, what nursing or what medical school did you go to?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I got a story for you. A person emailed me and sent me pictures of her husband's head cracked open in the back. He hit this table so hard that he cracked the leg all the way down. This is a solid oak antique table, okay? And I said, make sure he has a neurologist, make sure he gets an MRI, blah, blah, blah. They go to the ER. They don't even call the neurologist, even though, and this is with COVID, and the wife couldn't get in. And she's like, we need a neurologist. He's had so many concussions and TBIs already. they looked at her and said, you know, they did an x-ray and that's it. They didn't even do an MRI or a CAT scan. And they said, all of our ER doctors are board certified. We do not have to call a neurologist. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? In less than 6 hours of his discharge, his entire body went numb, and his head, he was describing electrical currents shooting through his head like he was being electrocuted. He was back in the ER. I mean, once we make this noise loud enough and insurance people really pay attention to us, they will start putting the right procedures in place to stop this crap that's going on. And that's what it is, just a bunch of crap. And they don't know. This is the knowledge gap. Yeah, they have no clue. They have no clue. Anyway, don't get me going. That's okay. So the more you type, right, in that first box, the more we can learn, and we actually will pre-fill all of this for you. And then all you do is just check, I agree. So that's like what we're working on next for our next phase. So I'm going to say this was a collision. I'm going to say that I got hit on all these areas. I lost consciousness. I also have memory loss. And if I type in, I'm going to say shoulder here, when I hit other, when people sign in, they're going to see these others. So the more people start to realize there's other areas that were affected, the more we can keep populating real risk factors, real data that makes sense to us. So these are the symptoms that we talk about, again, in the recent time, but this is really what you're experiencing now. So we're going to change this a little bit. So current symptoms you're having, and if you remember in Taylor's post, she had those 4 different sections, and this is where we are tracking the same exact PCS risk factors and symptoms are here on our thing. So can't find the right words. I do have slow thinking. I've got brain fog. I have constipation. My hands and feet are cold. That was somebody who added it. Thank you, Diane. Panic attacks, unexplained crying or sadness. Irritability. That one was already added by another person. I had blurred vision. We're adding a whole new vision section because we're working with special doctors that are in this field. So there's going to be more to vision. And then I say save and continue. Right now, we are only letting people track 3 because we were told initially when we did our beta test that they only wanted to track 3. It was overwhelming. But I recently have been started to be asked for more. So we're working on adding more symptoms at your request, meaning if you're comfortable with more than 3, we're going to click a button. You guys can add as many as you want or replace things. So right now, I'm going to track blurred vision, light sensitivity, and my crying. So these are the 3 that Sally is going to come and get me every day. And then if you notice, I'm almost done. There's only 7 steps, so it's really easy. So triggers for social determinants of health. This is a big word, and this is the CDC website to describe it if you really want to go read about it in the Healthy People 2020. Basically, what it is everything that's outside of the doctor's office. The US government used to think a social determinant of health was only your SES, which was your zip code, your education, and your income, and that's not true. SES is what is affecting you, which goes back to that condition. This is a condition. I have a broken brain. This is what we have to fix. I don't have a symptom, and I don't have a collection of constant symptoms. It is chaotic, and it is unpredictable right now. Our goal is to make it predictable. So until you know what starts triggering, and that's why I brought in the research about the barometric pressure, about the rain. When there's high temperatures, my daughter swells. And I mean swells. You can see it in her eyelids. She used to swell so much you think that she was an Oompa Loompa and I needed to prick her with a pin so she would just deflate. It was horrible. She couldn't walk. The swelling was so bad. My other daughter, she can't get in cars, she can't get in planes, and she lives in New York City. She can't get on the metro. She literally cannot endure any motion, any transportation without planning for 2 days to be in a dark room. That's how much it reshakes. Now, she's had 6 TBIs, 4 from volleyball, 2 from cars. She was barely rear-ended when she was at a stoplight, but then she was run over. But both of those last 2 were missed at the ER. So to Tracy's point, they miss them all the time. When you have excessive computer or iPhone, or I should say cell phone use, that blue light that is emitted fires off waves in your brain, causes severe migraines and swelling, okay? So once you start understanding, if you have too much caffeine, if your stress is really crazy, it's going to enlighten you as to, these are my triggers, and at least I can prep for it. And then hopefully we start figuring all of this out. Once you save and continue, Sally asks you, and again, you elect to be reminded, and she sends you a little email every day like, hey, come on, it's time to come in. So I'm going to say PM, and I'm going to say at 4 o'clock. We are adding, it just came in today, to add multiple times. So we're working on bringing that in as well too. And that's it. So once you're done, it was really pretty painless. You go to your dashboard. I'm going to try to shrink this so you can see it all a little bit. So every single day we ask you, are you having a good day or a bad day? So let's say I'm not having a great day today. And we're adding a few labels. So 0 is like little or no, and all the way up to 100 is really, really bad. Okay, so I'm having a pretty bad day, so I'm just going to track it there. My light sensitivity is really difficult. I'm having trouble with overhead lights or bright sun, and I'm sad, but I'm going to give that one, like, let's say a 30. And if you notice, well, before I go back, so every single day we ask you, what are you being affected by? Is there a storm? Is there bright sun? Were you in large crowds? You may not know until you start to think about it. Were you out driving? You know, did you drink any water? Right? And once you save, we're going to add those also and put them in pie charts below. So we have some makeovers coming on. I'm going to flip to a different screen to show you as you start tracking over time how this grows. Okay, so bear with me. One more time, new share, which is, I think it's this one here. Can you guys see this screen here with all the waves?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, awesome. So once you start tracking this, and obviously right now you can't track in the future, but you can always go back and track in time, but I just showed you how to track. We're going to be changing this. Right now, these are the numbers that you posted, but we're going to be changing this so that what comment, because if you have an increase or a decrease, that's 10% or 30%, that's something that we really want to make you tell us what happened that caused your increase in pain or your decrease, both positive and negative. So I'll show you right here. My last one is a 43. If I go up to here, you see how this box just popped up? When I have greater than 10 points, I have to tell you I didn't sleep, or I had a fight with my husband, or whatever happened. I had an F on my test. Put me in a bad mood. That bad mood set off my anxiety. That bad anxiety then set off my twitches. I don't know, but this is how we figure it out. So if I also, my fatigue, let's say my fatigue is super chronic. You see how it jumped up the box again? But this time I went beyond it. Like, this is where I'm feeling like, I'm like, oh, we do tell you, if you click on here, we say, hey, listen, that's a huge jump. We want you to call your doctor, right? If you have a 30% increase in either direction, please call your doctor. So with that being the case, I'm just going to move forward and track this one here. And then I'll do my panic attacks again. So I had another one, and fight with mom, you know, something like that. And then I say, save. I was in loud noises, or I heard loud noises. I was in large crowds. It was really hot today. I didn't have any travel. Of course, I was on my phone. Of course, I was on my computer. And I have excessive stress today. I tried to exercise. Nothing was helping me, right? So again, this is going to be added in very soon with a pie chart. So what's kind of fun about this? I cannot connect the dots Because if I don't know what you're doing, I'm not going to assume that it goes straight across or it goes down or up. So they remain empty. So the more information you give us, the more we're going to be able to show you to show your doctor. So the next thing I want to show you, so when you clicked on one of those dots, this is your past 30 days. And we add them in one at a time. So there's my brain fog, here's my fatigue, and here's my panic attacks. You can choose to have them as a bar chart or as your line chart. You add them in, so when you're ready to look at them, and I can take the other one away, you look at them. I don't want to overwhelm people. So again, whatever feedback you can give me that this will help or not help is going to be fabulous. Okay, once I go back, I'm done tracking for the day. And a couple more things. All of these webinars we're starting to put up here in the media page. So if you ever want to go back and look at something, you go back and you can look at all the other ones that we posted. I have a few more that I have to put in here still. And if you have any trouble or suggestions, you click on the help button, you type in your email, your name, and what your help is, and submit, and go straight into our developers team. And I get the email as well, so I can stay on top of it. And that's it. So by using the PCS symptoms that we saw in the blog post, I brought in more symptoms that are really related to PCS because of the hypoxia, right? That correlation, those are triggers. The more you can tell us about this, the more we can actually create a much better platform for you guys to share with their doctors or your doctors. I've demoed this to several doctors this past week, and they have all said, I want my portal. I want to ask my patients to do this. I want to see the results over time, because let's think about it. A doctor has maybe 10 minutes with you. Their nose is in the computer. They're trying to type in your ICD codes. They're not talking to you. You can show them over time, here's my ups and downs. Here's why it was up and down. The more they can get that, they can work much more efficiently to really help rehab you. And that's it. That's our lecture for the day. How far am I over? 10 minutes, not too bad. All right, so I'm a little late for my meeting, but that's okay. I would rather entertain. Thank you, Diane. You're not feeling well today, are you? I can tell. Diane is my rock star. I got to call out on Diane as well. She was so great with helping beta test initially when it came on, and she was a trooper, and she is loving the dashboard. So I can tell she's having a bad day. She's already showed it to her therapist. I think you probably tried a few things a little aggressive maybe that, you know, set her back, but log it, right? But I swear she's like an amazing ambassador with the dashboard. Oh, thank you. Thank you. A little heart for you. All right, what can I answer? Anybody? Hi, Ian. I didn't see you jump on. Chelsea and Tracy, you're both new. What can I answer for you guys?
I didn't mean to be late. I'm sorry. I had it on the computer. I just walked away.
No, not at all. Listen, I usually wait a little longer just because life, you know, but you know, now I'm going to be late.
Start at some point, so.
Yeah, exactly. Can I answer any questions for you? Can I, you know, what would you like? What can I do?
So the dashboard, we can see it to track it. Then you can see it. Where else does it go? Anywhere?
No, it doesn't go anywhere.
Okay,
no,
that's good.
Only you. Only you. We have not added any share features at all. So, and if we will be adding it, but when we add it, you are totally in control of your data. Unless you say, I will share, nobody gets it.
Yeah.
I'm anal.
In this day and age, you're not sure who gets
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, no. I completely agree. Absolutely. No, I do not. I'm probably the most, Taylor can attest to this, I'm the most anal person about the data.
Good though.
It is. Anybody else have a question or anything? It's really simple. I would love for your feedback. tell me what you need. I mean, I can't build out if I don't know what is going to help improve. So like I said, Diane has already said, you know, please add multiple symptoms. I want to bring my symptoms in and out. I had another person this morning email me that she wants to go back and add more to her original symptoms, because what she thought wasn't going to be a problem, because now she's back in school full time, she's on the computer way, way more. Now her triggers have accelerated, and she didn't select them. So not only does she want to add more, she wants to change her original input. So until I know that these are things that are important, I can't add them. So, all right. If there's no other questions, I will say thank you. This will be stored up on this media page up here. Again, email me, Lynn@PowerPatience, and let me know if you have questions. You can do everything right from the website, as you saw. All right?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lynn.
Thank you, Taylor. Okay, bye, you guys.
Bye.
Hey.